Hello everyone, Prosperity here. Legion is approaching fast, and with all the changes to the classes, I decided to make a few guides for each to help you understand what's going on. This series is taking an in-depth look at the abilities for each class and specialization, and with that said, welcome to the expert guide to the Retribution Paladin in Legion. Before we get started with this third installation to the Retribution series, I'll post the links to the first two parts on screen and in the description below. If you haven't watched these two, take a moment to give them a quick watch as they lay the groundwork for the information in this video. Now that we're all caught up, let's get right into it. This video will be focusing on the talents for Retribution. There are 21, and I'll be going down the tree tier by tier, explaining what each of the talents does. Once we've gone through all of them, I'll give my general thoughts on the tree as a whole. Getting started with the first tier at level 15, from left to right, we have Final Verdict, which increases the damage of your Templar's Verdict by 20% and Divine Storm by 10%, giving you an all-around boost in any situation. Taking Execution Sentence grants you a new ability by the same name that costs 3 Holy Power and deals a truckload of damage as Holy after 7 seconds. This ability has a 20-yard range and a 20-second cooldown and is a great tool for single-target fights. Taking Consecration gives you the ability Consecration, which puts down an area below you for 12 seconds that deals holy damage to any enemy standing in it. This ability is on a 12-second cooldown as well, so you can have a Consecration down perpetually. Moving on to the second tier at level 30, we have the Fires of Justice. This talent passively reduces the cooldown of your Crusader Strike by 1 second and gives it a 15% chance to reduce the cost of your next Holy Power spender by 1. Taking Zeal replaces your Crusader Strike with an ability called Zeal that strikes for a moderate amount of physical damage and has 2 charges, recharging after 4.5 seconds. Using Zeal causes you to gain up to 3 stacks of a buff that causes your attacks to chain to an additional nearby target, with each jump dealing 40% less damage than the last. This is one of the only cleave abilities in Ret's toolkit. Taking Greater Judgment causes your Judgment ability to hit 2 additional nearby enemies and always critically strike when used against enemies above 50% health. This is extremely useful as an AoE, but isn't entirely wasted in single target or cleave situations. The third tier at level 45 starts off with Fist of Justice, which causes your Holy Power spenders to reduce the remaining cooldown of your Hammer of Justice ability by 8 seconds when used. Taking Repentance gives you a new ability by the same name that incapacitates a demon, dragonkin, giant, humanoid, or undead creature for 1 minute, also dealing a maximum of 25% of the target's maximum health to it over the duration. This ability is on a 15-second cooldown and can only be active on 1 target at a time. Taking Blinding Light will give you a new ability by the same name that has a 1.5 minute cooldown. This ability will deal holy damage to all enemies within 10 yards, also dazing them for 6 seconds. Any non-holy damage done to a dazed target will break the daze effect. In the fourth tier at level 60, taking Virtue's Blade will make your Blade of Justice ability deal 3 times normal damage on critical strikes, making your stat priority slightly favor crit a little more. Taking Blade of Wrath will replace Blade of Justice, giving you the ability called Blade of Wrath. This ability has a 12-yard range and a 7.5 second cooldown, but deals more damage as holy, and additional holy damage over 6 seconds. This ability also generates 2 Holy Power. Taking Divine Hammer also replaces Blade of Justice. Divine Hammer has a 12-second cooldown and generates 2 Holy Power. When used, Divine Hammers will spin around you, dealing holy damage instantly to any enemies within 8 yards of you, and every 2 seconds afterwards for 12 seconds. The fifth tier at level 75 brings us Justicar's Vengeance. Taking that talent gives you a new ability by the same name that costs 5 Holy Power. When used, it deals a hefty amount of damage as holy and restores health to you equal to the damage done. This ability also deals 100% additional damage if used against a stunned target. Taking Eye for an Eye gives you the ability on a 1 minute cooldown that reduces the physical damage you take by 35% for 10 seconds, also dealing physical damage to any enemy that strikes you with a melee attack for the duration of the spell. Taking Word of Glory gives you the ability. It costs 3 Holy Power and has 2 charges, recharging every 1 minute. This ability heals you and up to 5 friendly targets within 15 yards of you. Taking a look at the 6th tier at level 90, taking Divine Intervention reduces the cooldown of Divine Shield by 50%. This also causes you to only drop to 20% health and automatically cast Divine Shield on yourself if you take an attack which would otherwise kill you. This effect does not trigger if you have the Forbearance debuff or if Divine Shield is on cooldown. Taking Divine Steed gives you access to the ability, allowing you to mount for 3 seconds, increasing your movement speed by 100% on a 45-second cooldown. Like I mentioned in the intermediate video, your Heart of the Crusader passive also works on this ability, making the increase actually 120%. Seal of Light gives you an ability that increases your movement speed by 20% for 20 seconds per holy power spent. This can be used with anywhere from 1 to 5 holy power and has no cooldown, making this a very flexible talent choice. The last tier for Ret at level 100, taking Divine Purpose gives your holy power spenders a 20% chance to make the next holy power spender cost no holy power. Taking Crusade replaces Avenging Wrath, which increases your damage and haste by 4.1% for 20 seconds. While Crusade is active, each holy power spent increases the buff to your damage and haste by another 4.1% up to a maximum of 15 stacks. Crusade is still on a 2-minute cooldown. Taking Holy Wrath gives you a new ability by the same name that has a 3-minute cooldown, dealing holy damage to up to 4 enemies within 10 yards, equal to 200% of your missing health, 50% against players. This ability hits like a truck, but requires a lot of trust and coordination with your healers in a group setting to be utilized properly. Now that we're through all of the talents, it's time for my general thoughts on the tree as a whole. The talent choices available to you don't have a huge effect on your gameplay style as Ret. Your toolkit doesn't change very much outside of your effectiveness in single target versus AoE situations, but there are 3 entire tiers revolved around these choices, meaning that you can choose whichever path works best for you and not hinder yourself a great deal. My go-to build for leveling in Legion will most likely look something like this: Final Verdict, Zeal, Fist of Justice, Blade of Wrath, Justicar's Vengeance, Divine Steed, and Crusade. I feel this build in particular puts more of an emphasis on the generation and spending of holy power, making for a very well-rounded toolkit that relies on the core mechanics of the class. I'd like to know what build you plan on going with and why. This is the end for the expert guide to the Retribution Paladin, but not the end of the series. If you have any questions regarding the Ret Paladin or anything related to World of Warcraft, drop a comment down below or send me a tweet at @TheLorenzus. I'm working as hard as I can to get as many of these videos out before Legion, so if you enjoyed this video, hit the subscribe button to stay caught up. Thank you all so much for watching, and until next time, have fun.